Now, Kamala Harris has said more than once, I am not a socialist. She says, I'm a capitalist. And she said that, I think, to distinguish herself from the squad. If you remember, you've got Cori Bush, and you've got AOC, and you've got some of these squad, Rashida Tlaib, and they don't shirk, they don't hesitate from the socialism label. So the progressives, Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris, they're like, no, we don't belong in that camp. But the question is not whether they are full-blown socialists. It's rather, are they going to be moving us, and how far, in the direction of socialism? Now, socialism can be understood in many ways. I want to just focus on the actions of Tim Walz and Kamala Harris in Minneapolis in 2020 in the wake of the George Floyd fracas. Massive lawlessness in Minneapolis, in Minnesota. Massive hike in the murder rate. It jumped 75% in 2020 and then rose again in 2021. And even though the crime rate has stabilized since then, it's still 50% above 2019 levels. So this has been a enduring rise in not just the crime rate generically, but in the murder rate specifically. The arson, the looting destroyed businesses, many times small businesses that begged the government to come to their help. And Tim Walz, who was then the governor, refused. He didn't deploy the Minnesota National Guard until much of the damage had already been done. When he did so, he deployed a paltry number of guardsmen. And here's a business owner, Ricardo Hernandez, telling the New York Post, he told the National Guard to stand still. So you might ask now, what does all of this have to do with socialism? Well, it may not have much to do with socialism, but it has to do with socialists. And by that I mean Tim Walz knew that a lot of these BLM and Antifa riders, let's remember that BLM and Antifa have their roots in socialist movements. The founders of BLM, by their own admission, were trained as socialist organizers. So these are far-left socialist thugs. And Tim Walz decided, they're my thugs. They may be thugs, but they're thugs on our side. And so we need to, at the very least, look the other way, and perhaps even to enable them in certain ways. And when you're dealing with the enabling, you see it even more clearly in the actions of Kamala Harris,